Hello. So I want to make a video on a rubber that I don't think many of you have even heard of before from Butterfly. It's called Bryce Highspeed and actually released in 2015, a lot later than the original Tenergy 05 and others in that series. Butterfly markets it as its fastest rubber, actually. If you go on Butterfly's website and you look at all of its rubbers, like in the diagram, you'll see that in the speed category, this rubber it lists as even faster than like Tenergy, Dignix, even Zyre. And I actually happen to have an old sheet of this rubber laying around, so I thought, why not slap it on, give it a try, and maybe make a review of it. And after playing with it on my backhand for a session, this really is an interesting rubber. I played with it for a session, about 3 hours or so. Mostly practice with the single ball, but also a few matches, and one against a pretty high level player, around 2000 USATT. This was put on the backhand of a multiply J-pen blade, which is quite stiff and fast. I used to have Tenergy 19 on the backhand, so I'll mostly be doing comparisons against that. So with the basic drive, it felt like okay actually, nothing too special. Like it didn't feel particularly fast or particularly slow. The control seemed okay. Again, nothing special. And same against like slow blocks against like regular forehand drive shots. Nothing special so far. However, as soon as the opponent hits a fast shot and the ball like sinks into the sponge of the rubber, like it really shoots it out with incredible speed. This is true for fast blocks, fast drives, and fast like backhand punch shots against any balls. It just flies out and lands on the opponent's side before they can even react. A problem arises though when spin is added into the mix. If the incoming ball has a decent amount of spin, whether slow or fast, the rubber becomes very hard to control. Like it always overshoots the table, like no matter what I do. Like it's very hard to keep it under wraps. It's almost too fast for its own good. And this means that any blocks against spinny shots or any attempts to like counter loop or like backhand like fast rip, if you know what that is, even just punching against slow spinny shots, like in matches it just becomes a huge risk. Like you don't know whether this ball that you hit will like either like fly past the opponent at like lightning speed or just go off the end of the table and you like lose the point immediately. Now the last thing I tried was looping against backspin with this rubber. So the slow loops against backspin, it didn't feel great, but the opponent said it felt spinny enough and it was fairly reliable. But these slow spinny loops, that if the contact is like too thick, then the sponge gets engaged and like the ball just flies out. It's hard to keep on table again. But if the contact is too thin, then the top sheet, the material I would say is not as good as like the Tenergy series or any of the later Butterfly rubbers. So it does tend to slip a little bit if the contact is too thin. So you can't do like either extreme. You have to get it just right. Then it works okay. The feeling is meh, but the effect is there. When trying to loop kill against backspin, like just crushing it and trying to win the point directly, I only tried a few times. It didn't really feel reliable. Again, it's just like too fast for its own good, and you just don't know whether it's gonna land or not. If it lands, like it's crazy fast, and you probably win the point, but there's a less chance of that compared to something like Tenergy, for example. The few shots I didn't test were the push or serving with it. I put this on my penhole backhand. I don't usually do those shots, so I didn't try it on this rubber. So in conclusion, I see this rubber as kind of like a high risk, high reward rubber for players that stay, I guess, closer to the table, because if you're far from table, every shot can have spin, and then it becomes like not so easy to control. Any balls that like sink into the rubber well and hit the sponge, they're going to have great speed, but for like truly passive blocking, it's not the best, because there's certainly other rubbers that do it better for also cheaper. If you manage to get the ball into the sponge, it's crazy fast, but also not that spinny, so it's not the most reliable if you want to just get on the table. Like, this rubber really isn't it. There's certainly other better rubbers like Tenergy for that. So I see it as kind of a rubber for somebody who is very forehand oriented and likes to move around the table, but because of the nature of the game today, you can't just have a forehand, you need to have some sort of backhand as well. And I think this rubber like complements that playstyle well. That it's not so easy for somebody to like just hit to your backhand and win free points anymore. Will I keep this rubber on my backhand? Probably not. I think Tenergy offers a lot of the same benefits while being better in other aspects. Maybe not the crazy top end speed, but it's definitely fast enough for my purposes. And for shakehand players too, I think there's certainly better rubbers that fit on the shakehand's backhand because the shakehand's backhand is a lot more versatile than penhold. But I could see some penhold players opting for this rubber if their forehand is like outstanding and they like rely on it to win almost every point. This rubber is kind of like a good bluff almost for your backhand, and that if somebody like hits it to your backhand, you just like kill it on the first shot somehow. They'll be kind of scared to do it again in a match. But yeah, that was my review for the Bryce Highspeed rubber by Butterfly. Probably not a rubber you've played with or even seen others play with it before. So if you have, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on it, either by playing with it yourself or playing against it.